good vibrations.
Hello, everybody. It's Julia, and I'm Hummingbird Jewel, and this is my 19th show.
Whoa!
Listen, a book review show for mind readers. And today I have my guest Renee Garcia, who's going to speak to the book Reality Transurfing. Big book. Look at this.
Yes, it is.
And it's written by Vadim Zeland. But before we get started, every show I feature a cause, and it's chosen by the guest. And that's because my mission statement is to teach love by being an example of love. And what better way than to showcase authors, their spiritual messages, find out what's behind the cover, and to promote the spiritual principle of service, of giving back to others. So I asked Renee to choose a cause, and she chose one near and dear to my heart, which was the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So Make-A-Wish is global. So if you want to help them, you can just Google your local chapter, find out who's closest to you. But I always put the links to the website of the cause and also on how to connect to Renee. Her YouTube channel, her website, her Facebook group will be in the notes of the YouTube, which I'll convert this live to a YouTube. So anyway, if you want to help make a wish, get a hold of your local chapter. You can become a volunteer. You can help them by donating goods. Sometimes corporations raise money to send a child on a wish. But what they do is they grant wishes to critically ill children. It's such a beautiful cause. So thank you, Renee, for choosing Make-A-Wish for your cause. And let's meet Renee Garcia. So Renee Garcia is the world-leading transurfing coach with 5 years under her belt. And she has the only training course in English that's endorsed by Vadim Zeland. So they have courses throughout the world, but kind of just making a splash here in the U.S. So Renee is known for her straightforward, candid, and practical teaching style, and she's graciously known as the white-faced Tufty. And just to show you who Tufty is, this is the second book, and Tufty has a red face. So Renee is in character. So Tufty the Priestess is a character of the second book, just for people that don't know that. And I really was kind of happy that he did that, because the first book is a manual and it's pretty intense. And the second one, having the character, and the character is just hilarious, just made it kind of fun. So Renee's in character today, which is just fun. So Renee's a very successful serial entrepreneur. And what I mean by that is most people, you know, they'll start a business and it'll fail, and then they'll go to another one and they'll try it. But hers have actually been a series of successful businesses, and she's been doing it for over 20 years. So she has experience in building her own dreams. And she just recently founded the International Transurfing Institute Facebook group and is the mouthpiece for Reality Transurfing TV on YouTube. So, you know, I usually always ask my authors or guests to provide a little short bio, which she did, and I just read it. And then I always dig deep and I find out all these things about them. But I didn't have to do that with Renee, because she's completely transparent. On her website, realitytransurfing.us, if you go to her blog, there's a huge interview about her. It tells all about her life story, which is really pretty incredible. Then Brian Scott for Reality Revolution did 2 one-hour interviews, which is on Transurfing TV, so you can really get to know her. And if you watch Transurfing TV, she bears her soul, because she applies the principles of reality transurfing into everyday life, and she uses her own life as an example. It's just brilliant. So I really want to steer you to Transurfing TV if you really want to get to know about her. But I'll just tell you a little bit. I mean, she called herself poor white trash. She came from a trailer house, you know, background, kind of a poor, humble background, had kind of a hard time. In her 20s, she had a devastating divorce that left her penniless. And so she really did create these businesses on her own. She became a successful entrepreneur. And when she discovered reality transurfing, she recognized it and the concepts that she could apply her own life vision to this vision in the book and help other people, because people were asking her, how do you do this? How are you living on a yacht? You know, how do you have these businesses when you didn't even graduate high school? You know, how do you do this? And so she kind of got this brilliant idea when she found this book. So, but she took it a little step further. She decided she wanted to meet the author and be endorsed by him. And I'm going to find out a little more about that. But here's the thing, folks. The guy's in Russia. He's from Russia. She went all the way to Russia to meet Vadim Zeland. So I'm going to stop talking and introduce Renee. Thank you for coming onto the show. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me, Julia. I'm so happy to be here.
So tell me really, why did you decide you had to go to Russia to meet Vadim Zeland?
Well, I guess you could say that I just wanted to be really close to the source of the knowledge. And I had a lot of fairly decent sized plans for promoting transurfing. And I just wanted to make sure that we saw things eye to eye, so to speak.
And what's he like? Is he shy? Because he's never really in the spotlight. So is he just a shy person, or?
I don't want to say he's shy, but he's definitely understated. He does not command a lot of attention, for sure. He's very subdued in his demeanor, and he's just a very gentle man. Very kind, very gentle, and just a really special human being.
Yeah, at the end of the book, he's really not taking credit for it. You know, he's like, hey, I know all of this stuff has been spoken before, because the space of variations, he calls it. Some people call it the quantum field, divine intelligence, the source of one. He recognizes that we're all one. And that, he just seems so humble about it. Like, this is really not my stuff, because he's a quantum physicist. Is that correct?
I think there has been talk about him being a quantum physicist. I don't believe that he was an actual quantum physicist. I think he worked in IT, and he had something to do with that department, but I don't know exactly what his role was.
Okay. So it must have been kind of, you get all this information comes to you, and he writes this book. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Trip, huh? So Reality Transurfing, it's a big book. And how would you best ask, like, if people want to dive into it, what would be the first step to do? I mean, this is, first of all, you say read the book, I would think, but what would you suggest if somebody's brand new to it and wants to kind of get into it?
Well, I mean, there used to be the audiobooks listed. I always recommended people to go to the audiobooks first until they were no longer, they were no longer endorsed. There's an official audiobook getting ready to come out.
Oh, good.
So yeah, so we pretty much just say read the book. But I think what a lot of people are doing now is they're watching some of my videos or joining ITI and then seeing if they resonate with whatever's being said. And then if they do, then they jump into reading the book, because I know that it's like, it's a big, huge thing and it's a commitment. So, I think if you, well, let me first off say, trust that it's awesome, because it is, and it's life-changing. So if you're looking for something new, if you want to see reality through a new worldview, a new model, just jump right in. You will not be disappointed by reading this book. But if you have questions about what transurfing is, or how we teach it, go on to Transurfing TV or join ITI, see some of the conversations, see if you resonate, and then maybe buy the book.
That's really a great idea. I know I found it on YouTube myself, and I started listening to it, and I was like, wait a minute, how come I haven't found this before?
I know.
I've studied it all. I've studied metaphysics all my life, great teachers, and I don't buy books anymore because I move so much and they're just too heavy. But I had to buy this book. And it's a game changer.
Oh,
so sure. You have a website, realitytransurfing.us, and then there's like
transurfing.us.
Yeah, and then there's these concepts that you laid out. So I thought that they were kind kind of nicely laid out. So let's talk about reconnect with the power of choice. You have the power of choice in dealing with fear. Speak to that a little bit.
So the reason that I actually made those, what you're looking at, they're like summing up some of the steps in terms without using transurfing terminology, because transurfing terminology, it's there. There's a name for everything, and I wanted to try to describe some of the concepts or what, you know, transurfing concepts could help you with specifically. So that one, the power of choice, is one of the fundamentals of transurfing. It's this idea that what we have in our lives now is because of either the choice or choices we have made. And in order to have something different, all we have to do is make different choices. So it's the idea starts within the model of the alternative space, which is everything that exists outside of our body. And this space has an infinite level of information, and you have the ability to highlight certain sectors of this space, making that a choice of what you are choosing to tune into, and this ultimately becomes your reality. So it all boils down to choice. If you want to highlight a different sector of reality, giving you different circumstances, a different outcome, all the different parts of having a different experience in life, then you would simply start with making a choice to do just that.
Yeah, and you're very much into self-empowerment, really, rather than, you know, this is not the answer. The answer is within, right? I mean, that's kind of what I sense when you're teaching too, and that's why you apply your lessons to personal experiences. And that's just a really amazing thing, because a lot of us get dependent on the teacher or the guru or the book, or, you know.
Oh,
and that's not what transurfing is about. It's really about us taking, you know, standing on our own 2 feet and, you know,
doing it yourself. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I think that our culture that we're in now, it's you know, wanting you to adhere to something to improve, but really, I think that I'll speak for myself here, but I've heard a lot of other people that found transurfing that they already had this sort of deep inherent knowledge inside of them, and it was just allowing them to see that there was a structure and a thing and knowledge and a book. But really, all of this stuff's inside of us. It's just about connecting with it inside and then utilizing it and actually taking action in your daily life, in your reality, in your environment, and improving, you know. But yes, it comes from within for certain.
I know for me, I've been, you call it materialization. I like that. I've been materializing since I've been 8 years old, but I wasn't sure how I was doing it. So I was on a quest really all my life to figure it out. And I've been, you know, really studying a lot. But this one's really fun, and I'm really enjoying it. I call myself a toddler now. I think I'm out of the baby stage, about a year old. But it's been just so much fun. So now let's talk about identify the energy around you, life tracks. What are they, and how can we navigate them? What's navigating life tracks?
So the way that I like to view it in my own mind, and I say to everyone that comes to me with questions or wanting to watch my videos or talk to me about transurfing, it's all about developing your sort of visual representation of whatever it is that you're learning or hearing about in your own mind, to an extent that it works for you. There's no right or wrong way of doing this. But how I like to look at life tracks, which is the trajectory that we're on, so to speak, the where we've come from, where we're going, the choices that we are making currently, and which direction they will send us in, or if you change your choices and then you can move around to different tracks. I like to view the tracks as being stacked upon each other, sort of in a they go linear and they're stacked on each other. And the better the choices you make, the more action you take, the higher your frequency, the higher you climb up in tracks. And it's on these upper tracks where most of what we want exists. Monetary gains, freedom, fun, adventure, romance, all that stuff. And that higher version of ourselves is up on that track. Now, there's an infinite number of life tracks in the space of variations or the alternative space. Therefore, there are an infinite number of versions of you. If you make really poor choices, or you're caught up in addiction, or you aren't helping yourself get out of a depressed state, or you have a chaotic life, then you are connecting with that lower version of yourself on one of those lower tracks, and you will gain all the things that are there, which, you know, if you're on lower tracks, there are unfortunate things. There are more depression and poverty and all that kind of stuff. And then you can use these tools to help you build up to the higher tracks, where you simply just improve yourself, connect with your higher self, connect with those higher tracks, and just have a better time in life, really.
Yeah. I think I used to think of them before I, read the book as timelines. I called it jumping timelines, is what I call it, jumping. And sometimes it would just be like I would wake up and I would be in a different timeline, and I was very aware of it too. It's like, wait a minute, yesterday things were like this, today things aren't, so, but yeah, that's a little bit about tracks. Okay, so negative energy, positive energy groups. Pendulums. Now, I put a meme out, and it had a pendulum, which is people use for divination. They want to say yes or no, and they hit the pendulum swings, and it's kind of used like that. Well, pendulums and transurfing mean something completely different. And this person kind of went off on me and goes, "I'm not into that kind of stuff." And I'm just transurfing people know what pendulums are, but why don't you explain what a pendulum is?
So a pendulum is really anything that is man-made. It's anything that exists because of the energy that people feed it. So some of the big ones that can be very distracting in our current realities are like the pendulum of media, the pendulum of television, the pendulum of, success, professional success. Family can be a pendulum. Your own thoughts can be a pendulum. It's anything that needs thought energy to exist. And if it lost its thought energy, then it would cease to exist. It would simply dissolve, and it would not, it wouldn't be there anymore. So sometimes pendulums do dissolve just because people don't give them thought energy anymore. And then the ones that people are giving thought energy to, they thrive more and more and more with the more thought energy that is given to them. So media is a perfect example. Social media, things that need energetic contribution via the adherence to exist.
Yeah, the political pendulum is a big one. Yesterday I got triggered. And then I caught myself. It was like I had to go back and delete like about 5 posts, Renee. I mean, it was the Super Bowl halftime pendulum.
Oh, I know.
Oh my gosh. And I saw myself just got wound right into it. And I was like giving all my energy away. And I was like, oh, I just felt so silly afterwards.
Yeah.
But they can be good, or they can be very negative. They can be very draining if you're allowing yourself to, because what I understand from Vadim is that we have endless amounts of energy that we can receive. And now saying that we are energetically healthy, though, in our mindset, in our bodies. And so we have infinite source. And at least that's how I feel about myself. I don't mind giving my energy away to pendulums of my choice, right? Transurfing is a pendulum, I get on the Facebook group and I help people out. OU football, college football, wow, that's a big pendulum. Everybody's screaming at the top of their lungs for their team, fun. And so they can be negatives or they can be positives, correct? Is that correct?
Yes. Well, I say this, that no pendulum is either, I mean, it depends how you want to look at it. It can either be negative or positive, or how I view it is they're neither negative nor positive. They're simply how they affect you. So what may be a negative pendulum for me might be a positive pendulum for somebody else. So take media, for example. I don't watch a lot of media because it doesn't do anything to feed my soul, whereas a photojournalist that works for CNN has a different relationship with the pendulum. So it's all about your relationship to it, what it gives you, and if it is in line with your higher self or your better, your higher good or your higher purpose, or however you want to look at it, if it's in line with your higher good and it helps you achieve that higher track or that higher self, then it's fine. But if it's keeping you resonating at a low level and you're just tuning into the news and you're feeling crappy about things and it doesn't mean anything for you or your reality, then you're probably in a relationship with a pendulum that, you know, could probably go, and you could better use that energy to fulfill some other thing that would take you to that higher track or that higher self, or, you know, just make your reality better.
Yeah, and it's simple to get rid of them. All you have to do is ignore. That's my understanding, is just ignore it.
Ignore, drop importance.
Yeah, drop importance. Okay, so unite mind and soul. How to get your mind and the soul to agree. Oh, that's a good one. Let's talk about that.
Yes, so again, getting back to current culture, is that we have a lot of programming on us that keeps our minds overly working about what we need to do in order to win the game or be successful in the game of life. And most of us are just running solely off of our mind. And that's why we wake up middle age, we have midlife crisis, and we're like, oh, why, you know, there's got to be more to life. That's your heart or your soul making an attempt to get out and connect with more meaning. Really, it wants you to have more meaning. So in order for you to find true success in the context of reality transurfing, both your heart and your soul, and heart or soul and your mind have to agree that something's a good idea. So it's not just about it serving your finances, or, oh, my mom wants me to be this thing, or my husband expects this out of me, or just figuring out, just using what your mind thinks about the scenario as your barometer if it's good for you. It's actually getting in touch with the voice of who you truly are as a person and what your ultimate purpose is, not just what your mind thinks you need to fulfill in order to be successful.
And it's a lot about utilizing our imagination to help, you know, propel ourselves forward too, because, you know, we have our present moment, and oops, the present moment's gone. Right? It's just gone, right? Present moment. Oh, another present moment's gone. So we really want to look to the future to, you know, kind of prepare our dreams and plant these seeds. And then you are a firm believer on taking steps towards it too, which I really like, because I understand that we can create our reality. I understand that what I think, my thoughts are things, but, you know, it's very rare that I'm going to, you know, make that pen right there move by looking at it, you know, or just bling, something pops out of air. Is that possible? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not going to say it's not, but we really got to take steps towards it. And so I like the way you apply the transurfing principles to practical life, and that's what you kind of do on your lessons, and you engage people to do that. And so talk a little bit about that, like goal setting and things like that.
Yeah, so one of the things that I sort of understood from a very young age was the power of action. I was always good at trying to take action to get myself out of the unfortunate, you know, scenarios that I was born into, or the tracks that I was on. So I figured out a way how to take action, but you know, I was still lost in a lot of ways. Primarily thought quality and positive thinking, and really what true goal setting is. True goal setting in regards to going after something that brings you happiness along the way and helps you to feel endless energy and feeling as though you're fulfilled and you're going towards goals actively in your life is you've got to have both the positive thought quality fused with the action. So a lot of people are into this whole manifestation culture, and manifestation, in my opinion, is you essentially trying to will something to happen in your reality. But there's a much more effective way to get something to pop up in your reality. It starts with thought quality and thought energy, and then you fuse it with action. And then all you have to do is take calm, emotion-free steps in the direction of what it is you intend to have. And ultimately, it will become yours if you don't give up. This is where most people screw up, is they give up too soon. But I know for a fact, because I've done it multiple times now, that you have to just gear your thoughts to the frequency of what it is you intend to have, take the actions that you know best at the time, and take them systematically in a calm, emotion-free manner, and eventually that thing will come onto your life track, into your reality.
Yeah, it's interesting for me because some things in my life, like when I was 8 years old, I decided I wanted to go see the midnight sun because my stepdad was from Norway and he told me about the midnight sun, so I got fixated on it. Well, it was 8 years later, I am in Bodo, Norway by myself at age 16 watching the midnight sun. So it took 8 years, but it happens, I mean, we can't always just poof things.
Yes.
And, you have to believe, I believe this is outside of maybe transurfing, divine timing, So you're right. I think people give up, or sometimes you do got to kind of let go. Maybe you just got too much concentration on something. And that's what you were talking about, I think, dropping importance. I mean, if you're just like solely just fixed on something, and it won't happen because you got to let off the pedal a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
Setting like driving a clutch. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yes, it's about setting the intention and then understanding that your world will eventually offer you the ways to realize that intention. You don't have to force things so hard. You just need to accept those opportunities when they come into your reality and then act on them. So it takes a lot of the pressure off of realizing goals. Reality Transurfing takes a lot of pressure off of realizing goals. You realize that your world actually has much more of an active role than maybe, I mean, I know that was probably one of my biggest lessons that I took from Transurfing when I first read it. I felt like if I was going to gain or even lose in my reality, it was all on me, right? It was my either positive action or something bad that I was doing that would, cause me to not get where I wanted to go. But everything weighed on me constantly. And then I realized there's a much easier way to do it, and that's to set an intention, allow your world to present to you the opportunities to realize that intention, and you trusting that those opportunities will come, and then just sort of taking them as they come. And sure enough, I've gotten everything that I want to have. I don't want for anything now, but I had to stop and trust my world, because when I wasn't trusting my world and I was just fighting and arguing with my reality and, in battle with myself and battle with others, that it actually made me getting what it was that I wanted extremely difficult. And then if I did finally get it, it was like I was so depleted emotionally and energetically, I couldn't even really enjoy it. So there was just a much easier way out there of doing that, and it was Reality Transurfing.
Yeah, it's great. Well, before we close, I do want to speak to a cause of Renee's, and actually it came out because I think you were like in process, and you said it was endorsed by Vadim, so I know you always put things through to him. Is that you are trying to get getting the books into the prisons. Can you talk a little bit about that before we close?
Yes, so thank you for bringing that up,
You're
Julia.
welcome.
Yeah, I have an anonymous ITI member that I have joined up with, that this was also one of his goals. And jointly, we are getting the books into the US prison system. I believe he's already dropped his off, and then I have 10 books that I'm going to be dropping off this week at a location in Berkeley, California, where they then get the books to the federal prison system. So we call the project Prison Surfing. And the reason that this really is something that calls to my heart and calls to the heart of the other person involved is that Vadim speaks specifically in the book about even a person being in jail has the option or the choice of freedom if they decide that, you know, that choice is available to them in their mind. So this can help people in unfortunate circumstances understand that it's all not lost. They can still find happiness, even if they're in jail, even if they're locked up for the rest of their life, to accept the circumstances, how they are, and really pull from the situation the advantage of being in prison. I know that sounds crazy, but I wrote a little bit of a wild story on ITI, if anybody's interested in reading it, of what I would do if I got falsely accused of capital murder and went to jail for the rest of my life. And I laid out a fantasy scenario, how I would see the advantage in it, and how I would turn my retreat, my prison retreat, into a positive. And what we would like to do is we would like to at least extend another option to people that are currently serving time. So it is something that we feel will really go hand in hand together, is reality transurfing in prison, hence prison surfing.
Yeah. And actually, when you were speaking, I was like, well, sometimes we're in our own prisons out on the outside too, right?
Absolutely.
So what do you want your world to look like? You know, do you want to feel like you're in the prison, that you're stuck, that you have no way out? Or do you want to like make a difference? And if you do, get a hold of Renee, join the group. Okay, so all the links will be in the YouTube notes if you're new, or get a hold of me, and I'll be glad to steer you in the right direction. I mean, there's a lot to this big book.
Yes.
And I really do really recommend you buy it, because it's one of those books that if you just open it up, like even if you've read it 4 or 5 times, it's going to speak to you differently, because as we change, it's kind of really fun that way. I've got the goosies just now talking about it. But Renee Garcia, thank you for blessing me. Do you have something else to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, for anybody that's intimidated by that size of a book, that there's a number of core concepts. There's probably a dozen or 15, and then Vadim Zeland repeats them a lot in the book, trying to reprogram our mind to a new way of thinking. So it's really, the reason that it's that big is because he's trying to reiterate things over and over and over to get you to see things a different way. It's not all new information throughout that whole book. It's like reprogramming your mind. So for anyone that's intimidated, it's actually not that much information. It's just that he delivers it in a new way over and over and over, so you can get it from a lot of different angles.
Tufty does that too. The second book, I mean, over each chapter goes back over and over and over and over, but it takes a little to get it sometimes, you know. So I'm just having so much fun with it, and so excited you came onto the show. Thank you for blessing me.
Yes, thank you for having me, Julia.
All right. Okay, everybody, thanks for watching, and until next time, bye.
Bye, guys.